What's going on, everybody? Julie Murphy here, and I am here to help you awaken your wealth. Why? Because I find that people either work things out or they act it out, and they do it through their money, through their health, or through their relationships. And one of those relationships that we often act it out on is with our employer. Very often. So I want you to do me a favor. I want you to subscribe, hit the like button, and don't forget to hit that notification bell because I am going to help you look at your life from a holistic life planning perspective and how it ripples effects into your money. So today, I'm going to help you talk about how does the employer relationship really impact you? And I'm going to give you 5 tips in terms of things that I've noticed with clients and loved ones throughout the years that I have coached in terms of how do you get what you're worth from your employer and actually stay in an empowered state? Now, many of us approach our employers, particularly at performance review times. And so towards the end of the year, we're probably going to come up to that, or it's going to happen just after the first of the year for some of you. And I think it's really important for you to have a mindset of stepping into your power with your employer instead of going in there going, would you please give me this? Particularly you ladies out there. I mean, come on. I am going to say this, and I can say it because I'm a chick. We are a big part of the problem as females of not being compensated as the same as men. Why? Because we don't hold healthy, strong boundaries for ourselves. And you know what you're worth because you're talking about it to all your girlfriends that your employer didn't give you the pay raise or the time off or whatever it is, but yet you're having the conversation with everybody else but the person who can actually change it. So, men or women out there, I want to make sure that you're taking this next step with your employer from a totally empowered state. So we're looking at not from scarcity, but from abundance, not from victim, but from empowered. This is what we need to do and shift in our communication with our employers. Okay, ready? Number 1, I need you to think outside of the box. Outside of the box. Why outside of the box? So I'm going to give you an example. I had a client years ago that actually loved what they did, but really didn't want to work the hours that they were working any longer. You know, they were getting a little older, still pre-retired, but really what was more valuable than a pay raise was actually time off to actually go live. You notice as you grow in your career, you actually really want more time. That's what we want is more time. And so instead of the pay raise, he was like, yeah, I don't need a pay raise. He opted to not take the cost of living pay raise. And he actually opted to say, can I have Fridays off in the summer? And it was so funny. He loved it so much and golfed so much that he turned around and said the next summer said, can I do a 3-day work week in the summertime, you know, from like Memorial Day to Labor Day? And the employer was fine with it because he was a great employee. He always did what he did. And he was dependable. And he was starting to get closer up into the age. And I understand that some of you may not have an employer that's flexible like that, but it could come outside of the box solutions, like a little bit more common these days, but like working from home so that you can be more present for your kids when they come home from school. Or maybe it's about designing your life moving forward as all employers are looking at, should we have people back in the office or not in the office? But what is it that you want to do? Create it from that space. Like you be the creator of your life and how you want to interface in your employer relationship. Many times we don't feel like we have those choices. And I'm telling you, I have seen people negotiate things with their employers that you would never in a million years think that they would actually do. But if they value you, I guarantee it. I too, as an employer, did the exact same thing. I had a woman come to me a couple of years ago, and this was before the pandemic, and she said, Julie, I really want to keep working for you, but I'm absolutely challenged because of the fact that I need to go to warmer weather. I can't stand the winters any longer where we're at. And I go, okay, where do you want to go? And it was funny when she said that to me, I got really nervous because I was now being pressed to think outside of the box as her employer. And she goes, I want to go to Florida. And I was like, okay. She's like, really? I go, well, as long as you do your job, I don't care where you're at. And I said, and we just need to know that we're testing it out at first. And, it cost me a little bit more to open up an office down in Florida. But I got to tell you, she's so damn good at her job because she's happy. And so you would not believe how it can shift your life, but you have to have the courage to have the conversation, to stand in your truth of what you'd like to create. She didn't want to stop working for us, and she still wanted to be part of the team, but she needed to go to a warmer climate. Okay. And if you're the one that's the employer or the manager, I'm going to challenge you to start to think outside of the box from your perspective too. Because again, we work things out and we act it out. And we do it with our money, our health, and our relationships. You're going to pay as an employer down the road with sick time if your employees are not happy. I see this happen all the time. Because when we are not following our heart and our soul, disease develops in our body. And so you're going to pay for it down the road if you're not wanting to think and work outside the box with people today. All right. So, number 2, I need you to think about, where is it that you're showing up with your ego at work? And what do I mean by that? So, a lot of times the ego, the mind, is what, let me back up here a second. So our ego is our mind and our soul is our heart and soul. So it's like the masculine energy versus the feminine energy of the heart. We all have it. Men and women have masculine and feminine. We all have it, right? So if we're only making decisions from the egoic mind that we have, then at some juncture, it's going to catch up with you. So I would encourage each one of you, again, going back to, how do you get into an empowered state when you're negotiating your comp and trying to get a pay raise and all these other things with your employer? Well, stop making all the decisions from here. I need you to start and filter your decision-making processes through your heart. Now, in the employer sector, and I don't care if you're in the trades or you're corporate America, wherever it is that you're at, oftentimes we start playing the corporate game. I could not believe when I did my MBA how non-authentic most of my classmates were, because they were trying to play the corporate game and they weren't standing in their truth. And I had so many of them coming out to me going, oh my God, I wish I owned my own business just like you. Like, how did I get there? How did I make the transition? And I helped multiple of them actually transition their lives. And now they're thriving because they're not playing the game of the corporate ladder. Because when you are not showing up in your truth and you are not being authentic for the game of corporate America, guess what? That is going to affect your health at some point as well. So we have got to start filtering all of these decisions and how we want to show up with our employer through our hearts. Because remember, if we don't, and we keep filtering it through our head, you're going to become more unhappy, more unhappy, more unhappy. And I noticed here in Chicago that when I would drive to work every day, I see all these people getting off the train and they look miserable. They're coming in from the suburbs. They look miserable going to their jobs. Now, this was pre-pandemic. And so I kept asking myself going, oh my God, I never ever want to be that person who's driving to work just dreading having to actually go. Like, what kind of life is that to live? So again, if you speak your truth to your employer and you don't play the game, if you're let go or that doesn't position you the right way for the next raise, maybe that's what's supposed to happen so that you can actually show up in the full version of yourself, so that you get the pay raises you deserve, you get the promotions, you get the bonuses, you get the stock, you get all the things that you deserve. And it all starts with you actually showing up authentically in the world and not going by anyone else's rules but your own. Why? Because everything is energy. Everything is vibration. So things will vibrate away from you, including employers, if they're not at the same vibe as you. I realized in 2008 and 2009, companies have cultures to them. And My clients that worked for some of these big corporations that you guys heard of in the news, like General Motors, they went bankrupt. People that I've worked with who worked for General Motors at that particular moment in time in their lives, they were also personally fiscally dysfunctional. They operated just like the corporation. So start to think about, if you're an empowered state going, yeah, I don't like how they do their budget planning. I don't like how they do these other things, and they don't resonate with my value system. But if you're playing the corporate game and you're not showing up authentically, well, then of course you're not going to be happy with your employer relationship because you're not showing up in 100% version of you. And I understand you got to be tactical and be a good person, but in the same token, show up as you. That's tip number 2. Number 3, I need you to remember that corporations have budgets. They have pay grade ranges, and they'll say, oh, well, with your job description, this is the pay grade and you're only in this box. What I've learned in coaching people through their promotions or negotiating new jobs, what tends to happen to people is that that salary range is pretty fixed. But you know what's not fixed? Sign-on bonuses. Usually they can do a one-time hit. Or if it's a company that has stock, or if it's not a publicly traded stock, they might have long-term incentives. Or you can also negotiate time off again. So work around the corporate budget game. They don't care how many shares of stock that they give you because it's not coming out of their budget that they're being held accountable to in their job. You see what I mean? So I just helped someone near and dear to my heart negotiate this at a job recently, a new job that they were looking at having. And I said, can you just drop these things like job title? I go, is that really important to you? Because that feels egoic. So that was one of the first things I was like, you know what? You want this job title, and I get that you want to have it on there. But in the same token, I go, is that what's most important to you? Because to me, I don't care if it is important to you or not important to you. The question is decide, is it important to you? Right? And do it as a list of priorities. And I said, what's really important to this person was to make sure that they had solid income for one of the parents working, that it covered all their expenses and a little bit extra. And I said, well, you're taking a pay decrease, but they're giving you a sign-on bonus. Here's the problem. Employers love to do that. Pension funds love to do it to retirees. We're going to give you a bonus or just a lump sum, so you have all the cash right now that's going to then affect you down the road. And you sit there and go, some people feel like they won the lottery because it's like a big chunk of cash, and they're like, woohoo, we're going to Sizzler. We're going to go take care of this. Here's the problem. You are going to wind up with a compounding issue. We don't realize. I remember I learned this when I first started my career, because I remember my dad was an electrician, and all the electricians absolutely loved the fact that for 2 years in a row at the holiday time, what they did is they actually gave them their $2,000 raise instead of the $166 more per month for the cost of living raise. And they're all excited. My dad and his buddies were sitting there talking about it. And I go, you all just got screwed. And my dad's like, what? Julie, don't talk like that. It's actually pretty funny. How is it that you got screwed? Well, remember, by them giving you a lump sum, like whether it's a bonus or like a one-time payout from like a pension fund instead of a cost of living raise, they don't have to pay that to you every month and every year. So let's just say you have a $100,000 income and they give you $5,000 instead of giving you a $105,000 salary next year. They just give you $5,000 bonus and call it a day. Well, I'd rather the $5,000 in the next year, because then my next raise after that is up and above $105,000, not still on the $100,000. Are you following me? And if you look at that over a 10-year period of time, that actually makes an incredibly big difference. So you're actually losing your purchasing power, and you're actually kind of getting screwed on some level. Now, there's always going to be bonuses. It's not that you can't go without bonuses, especially if you want to be part of and grow part of a team. But just understand that you're not actually getting ahead with the big chunks of money because it's not something that's compounding over time. All right. Number 4 of how to get your worth from an employer. I want you to make sure that if they have stock, those shares of stock, that I want you to actually just ask for more shares. I have yet to see any employer not give more shares when asked. So, what I'm telling you here in tip number 4 is that I need you to just ask for your desires. And if you're not really sure what your desires are, because you got to watch, you'll tune into your heart and you'll be like, but they can't do this is why. But they can't do this because this is why. No. Your job is to speak your truth and what you desire from your employer to how your employers to show up, because then they know you mean business. And again, we live in a vibrational universe. So the vibe you put out there is what you're going to get more of. So if you start holding healthy boundaries for yourself, then healthier things for you will come to you. And don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and that notification bell, because I'm going to continue to give you tips and tools to get you to a life that you absolutely love and embody real wealth.